It's time for another best of 3 series in StarCraft 2, and what I got for you today is an extremely high level Protoss versus Terran, where apparently the Terran player is indeed sending out an SCV awfully early on to this game to the other side of the map. Spawning in game number 1 here on Proxima Station LE in the bottom left corner, playing with the blue Terran pieces, we have none other than the current world champion of StarCraft 2. He goes by the nickname of ByuN. And as of me making this video, this guy is still the rank 1 in the world. He's an absolute force to be reckoned with. Now his opponent, definitely not a bad player himself whatsoever. We got one of the highest ranking Protoss in the world, if not the very highest ranking one. We have none other than Root Gaming's hero. The SCV has indeed arrived on the other end, and apparently he knows very well the timing of that probe scout right there, because that barracks that's already going up does indeed go unnoticed. Now Hero does indeed go for that probe scout. We'll be able to follow this up with an assimilator as well, but if he goes for a quick nexus, which he is most definitely setting up for, he could be in a little bit of trouble. Hero, he is very well known for his defensive play, but he's up against ByuN, and ByuN's Reaper control is incredible. ByuN's Reaper control is the very best in the world. He's quite literally the only reason why the unit did get nerfed a couple of times already. I mean, he still is abusing them much more so than any other player in the world has. None of the top level Terran players like Innovation or Maru or TY, like really none of the players are capable of controlling the unit quite as well as he does. And I think this may be a really important scout right there. That probe did indeed check the top of the ramp. He did check the in-base command center as well. And it looks like while Hero did have a probe here on the low ground for a little while, he has decided to put the probes into the gas geyser here, go for the quicker cybernetics core, go for a second assimilator as well as another pylon. And with this probe scout right now as well, he will confirm that only a single barracks has gone down. So he very quickly figured out what exactly is going on right there. Now, like I mentioned, Hero, he is known for his defensive play. This guy is an absolute beast. He does not mind playing macro whatsoever. And when it comes to like defending against Terran, it's very crucial that you put your army in correct positions, and generally speaking, the way you do so is just by simply splitting up your units and keeping very close tabs of exactly what the Terran player is up to. Now, of course, ByuN is trying to do whatever damage he can. Nice little loop around right there, not getting the Zealot to, or not allowing the Zealot to get all too close. But with that Mothership core coming out, as well as that Adept queued up, I think that his first Reaper here will get shot down. Maybe he's looking to try and get a scout right there on the low ground. Looks like he's not gonna commit because he wants to keep that Reaper alive for a little while longer to scout another day. Meanwhile, on the other end of the map, we do indeed see that ByuN has followed this up with not only a factory, and he's already producing a single Cyclone off of that one, but he's also followed it up with a starport. The barracks that he did make across the map is indeed gonna try and float home, and he will be able to establish himself in a bit more of a safe position. Now, ByuN, like I said, he's currently the world champion in StarCraft 2, and while oftentimes we did have BlizzCon champions that were indeed extremely good by the time they won BlizzCon. Even though we're like I think like 6, 7, 8 months or so later right now, ByuN is still at the top of the game. This guy is so freaking good. Every single time I see him play, I'm just literally impressed by the amount of stuff that he manages to create. I think that he's probably the best micro player in the world right now as it is, which definitely does say a lot. I mean, that does make Terran pretty much the perfect race for him to play. Now, Hero, if someone can give him a run for his money, it's most definitely Hero. This guy is also a beast. Like I said, he focuses on a lot of defensive play. He focuses on a lot of macro-focused Protoss, and it does mean that you have to defend against all of the Terran drops and all of the Terran aggression very, very nicely. Now, Hero is indeed going for the robotics facility in game number 1 right here. Apparently, ByuN has decided that he's gonna go for that Widow Mine in the center of the map. That's such a cute move here. This Widow Mine is positioned to pick up any kind of Oracle that may be flying across the map, and usually it will indeed come in very, very shortly. But ByuN positioning a Reaper right on top of that would not allow that pothole, I guess, to be spotted early on into this game. That's such a cute little move, because that Reaper is indeed hiding the little bit of vision right there. Now, the Observer will come in here. It will figure out exactly what's going on, but look at the vision here. Did he see that? I don't think he sees the Widow Mine. That is such a cute little move. 2 Stalkers moving out across the map right now. Blink is being researched, and Hero just playing the good old Hero style, where he's just simply sitting back and he's taking the damage very, very nicely, or rather, he's deflecting the damage very, very nicely. Now, a Banshee is indeed moving out across the map. The personal cloaking field will be finished here very shortly, so that does mean that this Banshee will try and do whatever damage he can. And actually, apparently, I did miss the Widow Mine getting a single hit off right there. Apparently, Hero did indeed not spot exactly exactly what was going on there, because that Stalker did indeed have a friend just a couple of seconds ago, but apparently the Widow Mine did get a shot off. Now, nice little bit of control right there. Observer will get vision, of course, and that Widow Mine will go down. Couple of probes do end up falling here in the natural as well, but solid defense here so far by Hero. You gotta keep in mind, of course, while that Banshee was indeed created and it did kill a couple of probes, it also did take quite a lot of time and a lot of tech to try and get that research done for the cloaking field, and 4 probes is just barely not enough to really justify that. Second Banshee now also moving in. There is another observer here in place to try and deal with all of that. Mothership Core, however, will be able to activate that photon overcharge, and while the Banshee will be able to just barely get on out of there, I don't think it's going to be able to get back in there for quite a little while. And while this is all going on though, ByuN is just simply establishing more and more units. It looks like Hero may very well be looking here to take a third base. Yeah, he really doesn't have any kind of like timing attacks coming in just yet. He's just simply macroing up more and more army. Robotics Bay going down right now. It does look like Hero may very well start building up the additional Colossi here. There we go. I would love to see the extended thermal lance almost immediately, giving some additional range to these Colossi. There we go. And Hero, like you can see, he's just really trying to not take any damage while building up his own economy. And that's really what he's so very good at. As far as the army supplies count goes right now, as well as the total supply counts, you can see the Terran is currently very, very far ahead, but he scouted out successfully what exactly is going on here in this match. He knows that there is indeed a starport with a reactor out right now, more than likely producing double medevacs at this point in time, so that does sort of indicate that ByuN is not quite gonna make a move just yet. And if he is, you know, Hero should have more than enough time to defend against that, because by the time the Terran army arrives on the other end of the map, Protoss will most definitely have his Colossi out, and the very first one is just about to join the battlefield. And Hero really playing like his textbook style, just simply defending, and eventually overpowering his opponent. Now, of course, Hero fully capable of playing cheese as well. We'll see if he decides to go for anything a little more aggressive anywhere during this series. Just to clarify, by the way, I am indeed casting the best of 3 series, so that does indeed mean that I'm not just going to be casting the single game, but I will be casting the entire series. I don't know if it's going to be 2 games or 3 games. We'll see. We'll figure it out together. A Terran dropship, however, has landed on the other end of the map. Stimpack finishing up in just a couple of seconds, but it looks like ByuN has already decided otherwise. While the Stalkers do blink forward, he has already decided otherwise, and he's just gonna simply lift up and get it out of there because the Colossi is out, and that can deal a ton of damage. Extended thermal lance just about to finish up, and I think that Terran may very well be looking here to get aggressive on the other side. I mean, he may very well be trying here to grab that third expansion here from the Protoss. An observer does scout just now that all of these Terrans units are indeed moving out. The Marines and Marauders have picked up their gear and are gonna try and do whatever damage they can, but you gotta keep in mind, of course, Terran has got, you know, a very menacing army, but Protoss has got Colossi as well as a lot of sentries. These sentries with proper force fields can do an awful lot of damage. On top of that, Hero will indeed have his photon overcharge ready to deal with all of this aggression. And I think that actually Hero will have more than enough as long as he lands the force fields. I mean, this is going to be tricky. Scan does go down right here, trying to deflect the Protoss player from really getting all his units into the third base, but it looks like Hero is not going to be faced. Here we go, massive engagement going in, beautiful force fields. And while a couple of the units do indeed get picked up and out of there, a lot of the army does end up falling, and for the very first time into this game, Hero does establish an even army supply count right here, or rather an even supply count right here with the Terran player. And of course, there are indeed a lot of units available. Once again, that Banshee trying to poke back in there, really keeping those units alive for an extended period of time, while apparently the second one did either return home or it may have very well ended up falling here. The one in the top right corner is still going to town, trying to get whatever kills he can, and really forcing Hero to leave at least a unit or two to deal with any kinds of aggression. So far though, really passive play here by Hero. He may be in a little bit of trouble because shortly it looks like ByuN is looking to drop off into the main base. Looks like he may have very well reconsidered now that the Protoss player is trying to take the gold base expansion as well. 4 Zealots were loaded up into this Warp Prism. The Reaper should have gotten vision of that, so I think that this Terran player will be able to deal with that just fine. But at this point, Hero looking to move to the other end of the map for the very first time into this game, trying to do whatever damage he can. Now the gold gold base does indeed get spotted right there for ByuN. I don't really know exactly if Hero really wants to move right now, because he's going to be in quite a bit of trouble. Two of those, what are they called? Cyclones do get picked off for practically nothing, but already you can see ByuN did indeed spot that Warp Prism was moving across the map already. They will be able to shut that Warp Prism down without it getting any damage done whatsoever. Fort base, however, this is a big deal. I mean, Terran is really starting to get a very scary army. 100 army supply versus 83. There is now also Storm being researched here for Hero, and this is an important timing window for a Terran player to hit. You gotta make sure that you deal with this army here from the Protoss, as well as potentially the 4th base, before Storm is done. If you're up against like Colossi as well as Storm, it's extremely scary for a Protoss player to play a bio army against, and it looks like Terran indeed is trying to make its way to the other end of the map. A massive stim being activated right there after the Stalkers blinked forward. No Storm available just yet. It's about halfway or so, you know, through finishing, and it looks like Hero may very well just simply give up on that gold base. Liberators now also in production. There's a lot of Vikings out, so they will try and deal with all of these Colossi, and that's going to be an issue because not that many Stalkers are available here anymore. There we go. Colossi are indeed starting to take a lot of damage. The Mothership Core will end up falling there as well, so not a whole lot of Photon Overcharge. Storm is seconds from finishing, but not done just yet, and will ByuN just simply be able to overpower his opponent right here, getting so much damage done? Storm, however, finished up. Massive Psionic Storms go down on top of all of the Terran bio, and I think that with that Storm and a massive Warp Hit, that may have just barely been enough, and for the very first time into this game, Hero picks up an army supply lead, and really a supply lead into this game. Beautiful move there by Hero. So extremely close. Now, the Banshee in the back. I mean, the Stalker moved. The Stalker moved. I think he assumed that he picked up the kill there, but the Stalker moved. Protoss currently not paying attention to his mineral line, and while apparently a couple of SCVs did also end up falling, so many probes are losing their lives here to that single Banshee that ByuN just kept alive from the earlier stages of the game. And while the Observer finally made his way here, and apparently that Stalker does pick up a kill, 11 probes. That's a big deal. That is a really big deal, and Terran is not quite done just yet. There are now also Liberators out. Liberators are great at zoning away the Protoss army, and while the bio doesn't look nearly as scary as it did previously anymore, somehow, some way, ByuN has indeed caught up in the supply counts once again. He does try and get on out of there, though. There is another base that does indeed get secured here on the right-hand side of the map by Hero. I mean, he's gonna have to start mining from someplace else very shortly here, but the same can be said here for Terran. Main base completely mined out. The Warp Prism trying to get a peek in. He does recognize that there's no base down here on the left-hand side, and I guess that the main Protoss force is now also checking the gold, knowing very well that Terran is gonna be rather weak. It's gonna be rather weak here in the sense that it does not have a lot of economy anymore. I wonder, though, what the plan is. Apparently, ByuN is lifting up a massive amount of his army into all of these medevacs. Currently, Hero is looking to snipe any of these medevacs, but with the Liberator medevac army, I think that he's looking to try and drop into the main base. Now, look at the amount of pylons that are available. I don't know exactly if there is even a Mothership Core out right now at all. No, there is none available. So that does mean that Protoss will be in a little bit of trouble. Now, the medevacs do get spotted here at the last second, but the bio army is already unloading. Without Photon Overcharge, this is a very difficult fight to take, and apparently Protoss is gonna lose a whole lot of its units producing structures. A bunch of probes do end up falling. As long as, however, Hero deals with his army, is gonna be in a great spot. Beautiful Storms going down once again, dealing so much damage. The Zealots coming in, and with some great control here with all of these Protoss units, Hero shuts that down while securing another base right here on the right hand side. The Nexus did indeed finish up, and while Terran will try and, I guess, land the main command center over at the gold base, this is gonna be a very scary army here because Protoss will slowly start ramping on more and more units. But is it enough, though? ByuN still got an awful lot of army here, and while the Liberators will end up getting a little bit ahead of themselves and they lose a whole lot of the army, so much Storm is still available, so much splash damage will come out of the Protoss army here, and with some great micro, some great control, Hero picks up every single last of these units, and the GG will be forced. Hero picks up game number 1. What a brilliant game. I mean, that match right there was absolutely the highest level of Terran versus Protoss you can expect in StarCraft 2 right now. So very back and forth. I was almost convinced that when ByuN initially attacked that third base, he was just simply going to pick up the victory right then and there. Anyway, to give you some numbers, Hero, he's currently 1-0 ahead. He's currently got a 63% win rate against Terran, which is most definitely very solid. He recently won the GSL Super Tournament, which is the highest level of play in StarCraft 2. And on top of that, he's roughly got $180,000 in prize winnings right now. There are some great Protoss players out there, in particular like Stats and Classic and whatnot, who are also very, very good right at this point in time. But Hero, he's been around for a very long time. He's been dominating for a very long time as well. And the guy is so very good. I mean, I think game number 1 perfectly, give you a perfect example of what this guy is capable of. Now, ByuN, most definitely no slouch himself. He's actually his weakest matchup, right? So get this. ByuN's weakest matchup is Terran versus Protoss. It's at 71% win rate in professional matches, in professional games. That's insane. 71% win rate being your weakest matchup. This guy is insane. He's currently got $350,000 in prize winnings alone. So that does not include sponsorships and salaries and all that kind of thing. Of course, there's like Innovation, there's TY, there's Maru, there's even Gumiho and Alive lately who have been playing really well. But ByuN is most definitely the cream of the crop right now. I mean, Innovation has overtaken him a couple of times, but I would say that ByuN is, just simply the better player right now. I mean, his decision making and his control is just insane. It's an absolute blast. But currently, I mean, he's 1-0 behind. He does have to be very careful here. This is, of course, a perfect opportunity here for Hero to play something a little bit more aggressive. And already, do we indeed see him go for that one base play? Not really taking any risks. Of course, he could be looking here to go for a quick starport or something along those lines. No Nexus going down just yet. And judging by the amount of gas that he's mining, I think that he is indeed planning to get at least a little bit of aggression done. So indeed, that starport will go down. First Scouting Reaper making its way across the map right now as well. The command center already going down, and ByuN really not going for any tricks here in game 2. He's just simply sitting back, trying to, play something a little bit more safe. Of course, we are on Abyssal Reef, one of the most balanced maps in StarCraft 2 in general. At the very least, the last time I checked the win rates, it all seemed very, very fair. But Hero is actually making its way across the map, and we all know why that is, or at the very least I do. The probe has indeed moved out here as well. Terran, of course, is fully aware of this situation, and I think what Hero is trying to do is put up a proxy pylon somewhere over here and then photon overcharge it with the mothership core. Reaper once again getting back into the main base. The Adept was left behind to deal with this unit in particular. The pylon does indeed go down, but there are already a whole bunch of Marines out, and I think with this third one joining in, he will be capable of dealing with this pylon just fine, and I think this may very well force the mothership core to go home very, very shortly. Oracle also in production, but the Nexus does go down, so Hero is not quite looking to close out this game right here. He's just simply trying to poke away and do a little bit of damage, because if, for example, for some odd reason, ByuN would have skipped out on that Reaper Scout, there was no way that he would have been able to defend against all of this aggression so early on into this game. And really, you don't really sacrifice all too much economy. Sure, you do get a later Nexus down, but I actually gotta say, whenever I do play Protoss versus Terran myself, I love the build that Hero just went for. Now, apparently, the mass recall will be forced right there. Mass recall, single unit, of course. That's just, the nature of the game. But the Oracle already making its way across, and we'll see if he's going to be capable of dealing any damage here whatsoever. There is, of course, no, Widow Mine out just yet. The Widow Mine is actually only just now being produced. There is a single Cyclone out, so you will be able to lock onto that unit, and I think that will just simply force the revelation and force that Oracle to get on out of there. Second Oracle should be moving out here very shortly as well. There it is indeed, moving across. But Hero, once more, setting up for a reasonable game right here. Getting some additional gateways here, actually going up to 3 here, as well as that Twilight Council. So maybe he's looking to get a bit more aggressive with Adepts. We'll keep an eye out on that. But so far, ByuN's defense has indeed been very, very solid. It's funny how for the longest time players were just simply rushing out, and actually the Oracles are going to get a little bit of damage done here, but for the longest time people were rushing out their missile turrets, but apparently Terrans have indeed figured out, a way to just simply deal with the Oracles by just simply, delaying the production right there of the, the engineering bay, and just simply adding on a couple more defensive tools instead. 6 SUVs do still end up falling, and while apparently the Reaper is still going to town, apparently it did float to the surface. Man, did you see that? Superman right there, that was insane. But already, Hero has decided to once again play his A game, and he's established that third Nexus already. Finally, we do see that engineering bay go down. We also do see the blink going up once more. So I guess that hero is once more just simply going to play the super defensive style. Not really going for any like heavy adept play. It's kind of interesting. A lot of Protoss players, in particular against Terran, really focus on a ton of adepts. But hero not so much. He's really been getting himself that... oh god, well that's a dead oracle. He's really been getting himself that blink upgrade here initially. I guess it's so helpful against... you know, pretty much all of the different kinds of aggression, be it Liberators, be it Banshees, be it, of course, dropships, be it anything. But it's just that, you know, later on into the game, it can give you a little bit of trouble if you don't have splash damage ready to go. And actually, hold that thought, because 3 more gateways were added on. There's no tech out just yet here for the Protoss, and I wonder what hero is really got in store here. I mean, that third Nexus will indeed go down. I believe it has been unscouted here by the Protoss player or by the Terran player rather thus far, and actually one of the oracles does end up paying for that. That's a little unfortunate, so I guess that will shut down the aggression just like that as well. But already, what exactly is the plan going to be here for hero? There's no warp prism, there is no robotics out just yet. He may very well just warp in a lot of units and play super defensive while building up his eco, but without tech, it's very difficult to really deal with a Terran army once it really starts rolling in these upgrades. And already, we do indeed see that +1 infantry weapons going down right at this point in time. He may be looking to just simply defend against the Terran aggression as well once it reaches, you know, his end of the map. I mean, it's almost inevitable at this point that Terran is going to move at some point. I mean, you're going up against ByuN. This guy doesn't really sit back for very long. He just generally moves out as early as he can. Look at all of the scouting, though. I mean, just simply keeping track of all of the Protoss warp prisms if they were out on the map as well. But so far, very little of that just yet. Just simply gateway units here and a bunch of, you know, stalkers. I mean, I'm starting to get a little worried here. Of course, these are just a bunch of Marines as well, though. But there's no detection here whatsoever. I don't think the Oracle is out just yet anymore either. Well, there's a single one apparently still available. And he's actually going to be using that one defensively, I guess. So I guess he will have a revelation here to scout that Widow Mine. But this is going to be a very tricky engagement. Although, to be fair, there are more than enough stalkers here that do have blink as well. So they're going to be capable of shooting down that medevac almost immediately without taking really any damage whatsoever. Hero might even be looking to take a 4th base very, very shortly. Second dropship does also go down. A couple more of these pylons will go up as well, just to try and get a bit more damage in. But apparently Hero has got enough. He's starting to move out across the map to try and do whatever damage he can. So many dropships out right now, though. There's units from the Terran player here everywhere. And while apparently that medevac does get sniped, there's still one in the main base as well with double Widow Mines in it. And this could be a little bit of trouble while the rest of the Terran player is indeed moving his army across the map. Oh, look at all of those forces. Apparently the defense, though, has been spot on here. Really not taking any damage here whatsoever. Revelation is available. Hero will need to deal with that. But at this point, I gotta say, I'm really impressed with Hero's defense. I mean, it is, of course, his specialty. There we go. Revelation does go down. He's taken absolutely no damage whatsoever just yet. And he's got a very menacing army supply. He's also got a ton of economy. And Hero is looking insanely good in this game. Now, a couple of units will end up falling. Nice little split, or nice little bit of splitting up there. And apparently he does get a medevac for his troubles, but at the same time, a bunch of Marines and Marauders, or actually just Marines and medevacs, have made their way towards the 3rd base location. Of course, there is a blink available here, and there, once again, we do see it go down, and a lot of these Terran units will end up falling. Are there enough Stalkers here to clean this up? I most definitely think that that is going to be the case. Blink forward to pick up that medevac as well. Widow Mine, however, still dealing a little bit of damage, and there is still one in the main as well. So much damage here being done here, and while the photon cannon does eventually finish up, even though the defense was almost as good as it could have been, Hero did still end up losing quite a couple of probes right there in the process. And while he is still ahead in army supply, he doesn't really have a whole lot of upgrades. Finally, we do see some more tech going down. The Templar Archives. He will be able to get himself some Storm out, maybe some Archons as well. And also, do we see that robotics bay or robotics facility right now, but Hero really not having any splash damage just yet. I'm starting to get a little bit worried. He did deflect that aggression really nicely, though. But of course, the longer this goes on, right, and the more upgrades Terran gets, I mean, already +1 attack is done, +1 armor just about to finish up as well, and shortly we'll see the production of 2-2. The more Terran army comes out, the scarier this fight becomes if you do not have splash damage. We do see charts now also being researched. Templar Archives, I'm hoping that it's going to get Storm immediately. There we go. Hero immediately getting that Storm upgrade, so that's perfect. And ByuN, I mean, he's doing ByuN things, just simply building up that Marine Marauder medevac-based army. I mean, it's been a golden standard for almost like 8 years right now. How long has StarCraft 2 been out? I know it released in 2010. I think it went into early access or whatever in like late 2009 or so. It's been a little while already, and I mean, the bread and butter style for Terran is most definitely, in particular against Protoss, most definitely still the Terran Marine Marauder medevac composition. And it looks like we may actually be setting up for a bit of a later game here though. Like, neither of these players are really looking like they're gonna be capable of closing out this game anytime soon. Both are just simply macroing up more and more units. +2/+2 in production right now. That does mean, of course, that Terran will be able to get quite a couple of these units out, and he may be able to go for timing by the time that hits. Fusion Core going down. I always hope that it's going to be for the battle cruisers, but I think it's just going to simply be the Liberator ranged upgrade, which I wouldn't be all too surprised by. But, I mean, Terran is just simply trying to keep track of all of the Protoss units, whereas the Protoss player has got the revelation on the majority of this Terran army, so both players know exactly what is going on at this point in the game. And both are just simply macroing up more and more units. Now, this is most definitely playing into the arms of Hero. Hero loves playing these kinds of games, and he's probably the best Protoss when it comes to these macro games as well. He's so very good at the defensive style, and while he did end up losing a couple units here and there, he's established a really nice economy lead as well as a stupid solid army. Splash damage is available right now, of course, on these High Templar as well. We do see some solid upgrades here going down as well for Hero, getting a lot of those units. And even though he doesn't really have... Oh man, he's actually got some hallucinated Stalkers. That is uncommon to say the least. But even though he's got a pretty good army here, I wonder if it's going to be enough though. There are so many Liberators out here. I think that you may need a little bit more tech. There we go. The second robotics facility does go down. Actually, the robotics bay going up here as well. So he is looking to maybe get disruptors or either that or colossi. A couple of zealots to try and do whatever run-bys they can. And apparently there's now also a war prism available to start doing some damage. But, well, of course, you know, Hero is known for his defensive play. Generally speaking, ByuN really doesn't take all too much damage from, you know, a single war prism either. It's more or less like a, you know, counter-attack kind of thing. The command center is now being morphed into a planetary, however, and that does make this position, the fourth base here of ByuN, lots more difficult to fight into. +3 attack now also being researched. Terran player, however, not very far ahead here. Hero getting himself the double forge research is, of course, getting a ton of those upgrades as well. And it's important because if you fall behind in that part of the game, the upgrades are extremely important. Now, of course, right? This is an area where storms can deal an awful lot of damage, but do you really want to fight into a planetary and a liberator anti-ground mode kind of fight? I don't think you really want to take that. While there are a whole lot of zealots right now into the main base, and ByuN did indeed pick up his units to try and defend against that, he will be forced into several different locations because Hero is looking to get aggressive. He is most definitely ahead right now when it comes to the army supply count. He's looking very solid here. He's got that 4-base economy himself as well, and he's warping in an awful lot of units. He split off a part of that Terran army, but really, like, the planetary fortress is making it so very tough for the Protoss player to jump into. That planetary is saving ByuN right now. I mean, he may be trying to look around here to maybe potentially go for that third base location as well. There are a couple of ghosts hanging out here, already in position to use the UMPs rather, to deal with all of those, oh man, energy-based units. Beautiful force fields once again going down though, and Hero is absolutely, I mean, making his opponent's army disappear. What a great play here so far by the Protoss player. I mean, 5th base even going down right now as well. Double Colossi ready to go. There's Storm available everywhere. Of course, that is going to be a necessity, by the way, to get those Colossi out. Or maybe the Disruptors, just because of the Ghost, right? The Ghost will have EMP available that will drain all of the energy out of these units if they do manage to land that. And a High Templar without any energy, not nearly as useful as a unit that does indeed have the energy. And on top of that, of course, we do have a lot of Stalkers and, you know, in particular, sentries in his army that will make use of that as well. Stalkers don't have energy, Lowko. You crazy. You're crazy. Storm, however, trying to be casted here. The Ghosts are immediately moving forward as well. Will they be able to get an EMP off? Apparently, so far, they're mostly just looking at each other, splitting up the units into different segments here. While apparently there was a dropship going down as well. The Colossi picked up 8 kills in that game. And, I mean, it looks like Terran may very well be trying to go for a slow push here. So many Protoss units, however, are indeed being warped in. And right now, I mean, Hero on purpose, not quite maxing out just yet, trying to get some higher tier units here instead, or maybe opening up some additional supply to really, you know, get any warpins done when he needs to. But at this point, he's maxed out. ByuN is at 180 supply. Upgrades currently looking extremely solid for both of these players. A couple of the ghosts do end up taking a little bit of damage here, but the Liberator Bio army is now moving forward. And it all comes down to the EMPs. Beautiful EMPs right there, shutting down each and every one of these energy-based units. They will be forced to get morphed right there into Archons if he so decides to do, you know, exactly that. Of course, there were a couple of High Templar out here at the individual bases as well, and I think that is where that High Templar came from, still dealing a nice amount of damage. But all of a sudden, the army supply counts are indeed going to be separated. I mean, there are still quite a bit of units available, but with those beautiful EMPs, so much damage will get dealt here. And with those liberation zones on the ground right now as well, it looks like ByuN is trying to get the freedom that he's looking for, because he's closing in the distance to the 4th base location. So many Protoss units, however, are still left over. The Colossi are going to tunnel this army. The Stalkers are picking off each and every one of these Liberators, and that does indeed leave these Colossi to do so much damage here as well. And somehow, some way, while Protoss did clean up that fight, ByuN is significantly ahead when it comes to the army's supply counts, just simply overrunning his opponent with superior control. And really, like, those EMPs were on point, right? Shutting down all of that energy on these High Templar, even though a couple of High Templars are still left over that do have storms. I mean, just simply shutting down the energy there was a little bit too much. That's extremely clutch, though. It's very much so hit or miss. That fight could have gone either way, and if the EMPs would have missed, or for example, the ghosts would have died there, I'm sure that ByuN would have lost that fight, but not in this instance right now. Now, the game, of course, not over just yet. Hero still mining off of 5 bases. Double Immortals being produced right now, interestingly enough. I guess he scouted that. Indeed, ByuN is looking very Marauder heavy, and of course, they do deal bonus damage against armored units. But still, this is not over just yet. I mean, Hero, he's got a lot of production, right? He's still adding on more and more, even going for the shield upgrades right at this point in the game, establishing himself even as 6th Nexus as well, and really piling on more and more economy, not you know, not afraid, or not scared rather, to move out across the map and try and pick up whatever they can. Of course, that 6th base does get scouted because ByuN does ByuN things. Apparently, a single Liberator here trying to stop the production for a little while. I guess that will force a couple of Stalkers to move off as well. But once again, we see those Medevacs and Liberators ready to go for a drop, and it looks like he's trying to do a similar move as he did in game number 1. Will it be enough, however? There are indeed 3 cannons already available, but it looks like he may very well be looking to bypass the natural and go for the main base instead. Scan does go down. Another base does get taken here by ByuN as well. Command Center did finish up right now at the 4th base, or I guess that would be the 5th base location of the Terran player. Storm goes down, however. Of course, it's hard to split your attention between all of these different engagements, and apparently there's a massive shark floating over the screen right now. Mr. Shark, what are you doing? You're obstructing the view, but I think that the Protoss player did manage to get the damage done that he was looking for right there. And while the Nexus will end up falling here with the reinforcing Bio army, once again, Hero's defense right there was looking solid, and I think he will be able to shut down the remainder of this Medevac aggression by just simply using the single Void Ray that he created. Now, still a little bit of damage does indeed go down, but it looks like Protoss is indeed on the prowl. He's trying to do whatever damage he can, right? Stalkers are moving across. A lot of High Templar once again available. I don't see any Ghosts out just now. Are there any Ghosts available? As it is right now, there are no Ghosts. That does mean that while apparently more and more of these units do end up falling here. Look at that Medevac, by the way, just keeping that single Hero SCV or Hero Marine alive. This is starting to look really scary. I mean, there is so much splash damage available here for the Protoss player. He's going to be capable of shutting down this Terran Bio army with absolute ease. Now, of course, there is a lot of damage that can be dealt here, but of course, there is also a planetary fortress. So many Liberators, and I think that may have been a bit too much of the good thing right there from Hero. Hero trying to push into that positioning right there, and ByuN does hold on. He was smelling blood right there. He's trying to do whatever damage he can. That newly acquired command center does get scouted, but apparently it does float away here and get to safety for the time being. Man, what a crazy series so far. These games are insanely good. These games are extremely high level. I mean, you gotta keep in mind, they're managing so many things here all at once, right? I mean, the APM is not currently, you know, it's not constantly pushing above 500 for no apparent reason. They're meshing, like, literally more than 10 buttons a second during, like, the high-end engagements. And sometimes I've seen even people push over to 4 digits when it comes to, like, the APM counts. It's insane. There are definitely some very fast players out there, and both of these guys are one of them. Or some of them. I guess both of these guys would not make one of them, Lowko. Good English. Very difficult language. More and more bases, though, are being added on right here by Hero. And it looks like neither of these players really trying to, you know, like, switch it up. Neither player really trying to switch it up. They know very well that they're walking a slippery slope, right? One misengagement, one bad push, and they will end up losing their army and therefore the game. Right? In particular, true for Protoss, because planetary fortresses and SCVs can hold on for a while longer. But in particular, Protoss has got to be very, very careful here of their positioning. But really, what are you going to transition into right now, right? So we do indeed see the Ghosts being added back into the mix for the Terran player right now. Liberators are also going down. But ByuN's army is starting to look really scary. It's getting to the point, right, where, I mean, I'm starting to get a little worried here for the Protoss player, rather, because it's starting to get to the point where ByuN is almost looking impenetrable. I mean, a couple of pushes have indeed made their way towards this planetary as well as the other one right here. But there's still so much production here for the Terran player, and the army supply counts don't lie. There's most definitely an advantage right now for the Terran player, and he's still, you know, trying to do whatever harassment damage he can, just trying to shut down more and more of these bases. Of course, you gotta keep in mind, the main is mined out, the natural's mined out, third base is mined out, fourth base is running low, and the fifth base, I mean, that one's still looking healthy. And while the sixth base does now get acquired as well, the economy can easily go in favor right here of the Terran, just because they can start dropping mules, right? And I think that is what that orbital command is looking for right there as well. It's trying to, you know, catch a shark here for the time being. Apparently sharks are the nature of the beast right now, and you know, I think he's trying to secure that base here on the right-hand side, but so many Terran units are now making their way across. Once again, a beautiful move there with those High Templar, trying to feed back all of those ghosts, but there's just simply so many of them, and it doesn't really leave a whole lot of energy for additional storms. Look at the amount of ghosts that are available right now, more and more even in production as well, and they are sort of like the end game unit here for the Terran player. Look at all of those liberation zones trying to go down as well. Once again, EMPs being landed here, even like reducing the amount of shielding that all of these Protoss units have. It does indeed make the late game fights much easier. Hero has done a great job at deflecting all of the Terran aggression thus far, but will he be able to do so with this engagement as well? I'm starting to be a little bit worried for him. There is a pretty large bank here for the Terran player still available. He's constantly maxing out. More and more Vikings added on right now as well, and one of those Colossi rather will end up falling. A couple of Vikings apparently really don't want to live to fly another day, because they're trying to just simply you know, die at the hands of those stalkers, but they're dealing so much damage here to these Colossi, and while a couple of storms will go down and still more and more are available, a dropship has now also made its way to that fourth base location of Hero. There's a push going into the fifth right now as well, and while I think that this aggression will once again get cleaned up, ByuN is not stopping this aggression. He's piling on the pressure, and he's really doing it super nicely. Army supply counts are getting more and more in favor right now of the Terran player. Look at those supplies, though, dropping here for the Protoss player, and ByuN, with a brilliant game, simply harassing his opponent to death, will be able to even up the score. And there we have it, the final game in this series. Spawning in the top left corner of Ascension to IRLE, we have none other than the Terran player known as ByuN, showcasing some incredible style here in game number 1 and 2 actually, building up to a very menacing force there in both of the games, and you know, just simply harassing his opponent to death in game number 2, but in game number 1, he did just barely fall short, because Hero, who spawned in the bottom right corner of this map, has indeed showcased some insane defense. I mean, I would say that his main mistake in the last game we just watched was the push into the planetary, where he tried closing out the game. I think he overestimated his advantage at that point, and while he was most definitely ahead at that point in the game, it was looking a little bit scary there to push into a planetary, right? It's very much so hit or miss, and the anti-ground mode of those Liberators just simply shut down the majority of the Protoss units, and at that point it was very difficult to crawl back into the game. However, apparently ByuN, even though his opponent went for a very aggressive opener in game number 2, has decided that he wants to close out this series with a command center first. I mean, sure, we did see that depot go down, but a very economy, greedy opener right here by ByuN. Of course, the probe will be able to scout that. There is no scouting here whatsoever for the Terran player, and apparently, Hero will not be able to do a whole lot against that, and he will be capable of just simply going for that Nexus after going for the gateway as well. This is the most economy-focused build that you can go for if you are a Terran player. It is, of course, a little bit scary as well, because, of course, you know, if your opponent is opening up with, you know, if he's opening up with double gateway, or, for example, that mothership core push across the map, or quick oracles, or anything along those lines, you're gonna be in a little bit of trouble. But actually, I would love to see a little bit of cheese here from ByuN. He's following it up with additional barracks. 3 barracks here going down. Now, of course, Hero did just scout this. I wonder exactly what the plan is gonna be. I think that ByuN is just simply gonna pile on a whole lot of Marines. I mean, I've seen him play Reapers in Terran versus Zerg and Terran versus Terran in particular. I would love to see something along those lines as well for Terran versus Protoss. But of course, the Mothership Core and then the Adepts and whatnot do make that difficult. But Hero has decided how he wants to respond. He goes for that 3rd Nexus, recognizing that his opponent went super greedy. He's like, wait a second. 2 can play that game. I'm gonna put up another Nexus here. And I love it. That is such a smart play. I mean, ByuN, he has not taken any gas geysers here. That does mean that he's gonna be able to build Marines, but there's not gonna be any scouting here whatsoever. There was no SUV on the other end of the map. The probe is trying to see whatever it can, and while it does end up paying for that with its life, ByuN will have absolutely no idea that Hero is indeed taking that 3rd Nexus already, and given enough time, Hero will get a huge economy here. An absolutely massive economy. I think he's gonna just simply stick to gateway-based units like he did in game number 2 as well. He just simply sat back on gateway army for so very long, allowing him to get that, you know, 3rd Nexus out a little bit faster. I guess in this game, though, it's extremely early. But then again, what is your opponent really gonna do against it? There's no real tech available just yet. Finally, we do see that tech lab going down here for ByuN, but there is no stim pack coming in anytime soon. But ByuN may very well be looking to go for that +1 attack on the bio army, in combination with a stim pack push. I would love to see something along those lines. We'll keep an eye out right here. Yeah, he immediately does get the stim pack upgrade. So that does mean that ByuN is looking to get at least a bit of a timing attack done, I'm assuming here. The thing is it gonna be enough? You gotta keep in mind, right? If ByuN indeed does go for that +1 attack, stim pack timing, and I think he may very well be looking here to take that +1 attack ASAP. If that is the case, because we do see double reactor going down right now, there's not going to be any tech here whatsoever, okay? Protoss will not be able to, you know, easily shut down the army, but there's not going to be any, you know, medevacs out. There's not going to be any, like, Widow Mines available. There's really not going to be any higher tier unit available. And actually, these depots need to be raised. Beautiful scout there by Hero. We'll figure out exactly what is going on. Now, apparently, he does decide to skip out on a +1 attack, by the way, and go for the factory instead. So, ByuN doesn't necessarily need to make that move across the map, but there are a lot of Terran units that will indeed come out here in just a matter of seconds. And if he were to be aware of this 3rd Nexus, I think he would most definitely make a move for it. Gateways being added on right now as well. The robotics facility is out, so he's going to be capable of scouting with those observers. Once more, we do see that Twilight Council researching that blink. I'm really starting to like that one a lot more, actually, seeing the amount of damage that he's been able to do with that so far into this series. Once again, though, so much scouting here being added on here by Hero. I mean, he's just simply trying to keep track of exactly what is going on, knowing precisely what his opponent is going for. And I wonder, is, you know, ByuN even gonna try and go for a move? You know, I'm starting to be a little bit worried about it. We do indeed see that reactor go down here as well as the starport, so I think he may very well be looking to just simply switch over here. Once again, that Adept trying to poke into the main base, cancels it at the last second. Hold up, did a scan just go down? Yeah, it did go down into the natural, but no 3rd base vision just yet. And I think that ByuN, if ByuN were aware of the fact that that 3rd is already down, he would most definitely make a move for it. Now, he is moving across. He is currently moving across. Stimpack just seconds from finishing. There is also combat shield being added on right now, but while the supply count is currently in favor here of the Terran player in red, Hero will very quickly be able to close the distance. I mean, the income here will be heavily in favor of the Protoss player, as you can see already. And of course, I mean, the more time goes by, the more units he would just simply be able to create. Stimpack is done. +1 attack not quite done just yet. There are also 2 medevacs in production right now at a time. And ByuN, he's looking to try and maybe move into the 3rd base location. I mean, he still has absolutely no idea about this base. And I think if he scouts it right now, and I think he will, this should trigger a response into him right away. He will figure out right now that this base has been up and running for a little while, trying to do whatever damage he can, but the photon overcharge will be going down right from the get-go. Stalkers indeed being warped in, and for the first time into this game, Hero will be able to start pushing ahead here in the supply count. So you can see he starts climbing. He starts climbing very, very nicely. Photon cannons going down right now in the middle lines as well. Recognizing that he is indeed ahead, he doesn't really want to take any damage from any dropships here whatsoever. Any kind of Widow Mine play could become a bit of trouble. And indeed, he does now scout as well that there is indeed a factory down with a reactor on it. So he knows what's coming his way here very, very shortly. But ByuN, I mean, What exactly is his plan gonna be at this point in the game? Sure, he's not out of this just yet, right? Don't get me wrong. But he's most definitely behind when it comes to the supply counts right now, as well as, you know, just simply the economy game. Now, Hero, he may be looking across the, or he may be looking to move across the map right now, but there's 2 medevacs headed to the main base. 16, or actually, no, that would make 15 units into this single medevac, and that is a lot. That is a lot of army here. Hero will not figure out about his army until it's already in the main base, and I don't think he's going to be capable of warping in here in time. Mothership Core mass recalling towards the main base. All of the Protoss army has indeed made its way across the map. We'll be able to shut down that 3rd command center as well. I don't think that was a cancel, but so much of this Protoss economy will get lost right here. Hero making a desperation move right now to get to the other end of the map. There is a warp prism available as well, so he's going to be capable of getting more and more units here, but so much of the economy is indeed lost to just 2 full medevacs. So much army supply is indeed being lost here for the Protoss units. Are there enough though? Are there enough Stalkers here available to shut down the rest of this aggression? I'm starting to wonder if that is going to be the case. The natural nexus will end up falling here as well, and while apparently a lot of SUVs went down, more probes more probes did end up getting picked off there, and somehow some way with just 2 medevacs full of units. I think that all of a sudden ByuN turned this one around, and indeed, Hero ends up GGing out of that game. He was so far ahead right there, just did not keep track of the movement right there of the Terran player. It's very difficult to do so. I don't fault him whatsoever, but as soon as Hero decided to move across the map for really like the first time in this series, it felt like, with like an aggressive, like semi-early game push, all of a sudden, ByuN was there to shut down all of the aggression, as well as deal a lot of damage with just 2 medevacs on the other side of the map. I hope you enjoyed watching this series. ByuN ends up picking up the victory 2-1. It was definitely awesome. I loved it. I hope you enjoyed watching it as well. If you did, make sure you hit that like button down below. If you want to see more, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you get a notification as soon as I upload more. And other than that, I want to thank you very much so for watching. Have an amazing day. Do not forget to smile, alright? And I will see you in the next one.